told here is around Honda entry into the US. Have I told this story before in this class? I told it recently, I don't think it was with you. No, Honda, no, entry into the US, motorcycles, doesn't ring a bell. Okay, good. So, Honda, let's go back to, say, the 80s. Honda, Japanese company, core competence is in engine technology. Right? So engines for motorcycles, lawnmowers that you, this is a US story, so this is the type of lawnmower you sit on it and you drive it around, right? This is not a London lawnmower where you could just use a pair of nail scissors or something to cut the lawn. So traditional core competence in engine technology and no intention really of being involved in the US car market. They did some exporting to the US. They exported snowblowers, so you know the things you push along to get snow off the sidewalk there. And they exported lawnmowers, that type of thing, but no intention to really move into transportation. But they had these cub motorcycles, these kind of small motorcycles in Japan, and gradually it kind of became this kind of cool thing in the States where there was cub motorcycle clubs, and these real enthusiasts really enjoyed these cub motorcycles, and sort of it started importing them into Japan, from Japan to the States, and sort of Honda kind of cottoned on and thinks, interesting. We had customers there we didn't even know we had. They're finding a way around the import and export controls to be able to access these things. Maybe we should start exporting these directly to the States. So they start exporting these kind of motorcycles to fulfill a customer need. And then they start with the smaller motorcycles, and then it's the larger motorcycles. So before you know it, they're exporting small cars, and before you know it, there's a very large manufacturer of motor vehicles, both in Japan and exporting, and also inside the US itself. So this is an example of an innovation, or a new value model kind of sticking to customers. But there's other ways in which these value models can stick. Let's give you an example of competitors. Let's give you the example of competitors. I will give you the example of Amazon in the early days. Now this one I'm convinced I've said to you before. Amazon in the early days, the major barrier to adoption, the major reason that people were a bit worried about buying books online when Amazon first started off, what would be a major barrier when they first started doing books online? What do you think people were worried about?
Logistics.
Trusting, putting credit card details into the computer. This was a new thing, and in order to get the online retail model working, they had to find a way around people putting their credit card details into the computer. How was this legitimized? This was legitimized when Barnes & Noble, big bricks and mortar bookseller, sees a new competitor, Amazon, at that time relatively small niche player, growing rapidly, sees Amazon and thinks, oh, maybe people want to buy books online. Why don't we, as a bricks and mortar retailer, also start our own website and we'll sell books online? And so they started selling books online, and they started putting lots of reassurance about how safe it is to put your credit card details into the computer. And you see a significant jump in Amazon's growth just as Barnes & Noble launched a website. It legitimized the business model, it gave people credibility and trust that it wasn't so terrifying to put your credit card details into the computer, and Amazon took off. So that's an example. It's not just your customers that'll help you develop a new business model or help you legitimize a business model. In this case, it was actually their competitor who did it. Regulation can do it. So there's examples I know. Let's take the old jetpack example. I mean, this just reminds me of something out of the LA Olympics in whatever that was, 84. The Olympic ceremony had this guy in a jetpack. I'm not sure if it's gone between then and now. But one of the things that would legitimize this is if there's a way of getting the regulation to change so that it actually is licensed and allowed, and you don't have to wear completely crazy safety equipment and this sort of thing, to be able to legitimize a new value proposition. It's another way of doing this, getting a new business model to stick around suppliers. My example is Costco. You familiar with Costco? Costco, it's a large retailer, and they have some UK stores now. There's one somewhere here, I don't know where it is. model is this. You walk into the store, you become a member of the store, you pay, anybody know how much it is? 50 quid? That would be about the Canadian equivalent. This is a Canadian example from last year. Let's say you pay £50 a year to be a member of the store. And then it's only that you can only buy from the store if you're a member. So once you then start buying stuff, the stuff is, it's cheaper, it's actually very good value, it's usually in bulk, and it's usually not necessarily last year's models, but it's like overruns or overstocks or slightly different colours from what you get in other places and what have you. And it's notorious, it's built on what they call the treasure hunt model, that you go into Costco and you intend to buy milk and you come out with like a hot tub or something like this. So you literally you go in with a budget of £100 and you spend £6. This is how it works. So the treasure hunt model, because they turn the products over so much. Have any of you had that experience in Costco where you come out with like golf clubs? Some don't even do golf. It was such a good deal. So this is the treasure hunt model. You never know what you're going to see there. And you know that it's not going to be there next time. You can't just go away and think about it and come back next week and buy the golf clubs. If you want those golf clubs, you've got to buy them now. Right? So how can you get this business model stick? Now, if you look inside the profitability, by the way, of Costco, although they have good value prices, there are other companies, like Asda, the Walmart equivalent here, has a lower cost supply base than they do. But they manage to keep the cost low. And in fact, if you look at Costco's profit, the profit all comes from the membership. The profit doesn't come from the retail. So they do the retail at cost, but they do it in such a way that people want to keep coming back, so they pay their membership. Interesting business model. They shifted from thinking of themselves as a shop to thinking of themselves as a club. And that changed. So then if you're thinking of yourself as a club, what will make people come back and be a member of the club again next year and pay their £50 again next year? How did they do it? In order to get this to work, they needed their suppliers to cooperate. So they needed to know that golf club suppliers would be willing to send a really nice set of golf clubs at a good price once or for a short period of time only, and then not send it again until several months later. This is kind of an unusual thing that you're asking for your suppliers. Now the suppliers willing to go along with this because sometimes they would find there were overstocks or stuff that didn't sell so well in one market and they're swinging it into another market, or sometimes the stuff is just simply out of season. So I buy golf clubs in November. Anyway, I don't know why I'm stuck on that example. But they needed the suppliers to cooperate and to collaborate to be able to get that business model off the ground, to get it to stick. And they did that extremely well, and they have very strong relationships with their suppliers. They also have their own brand. Their own brand is called Kirkland. Kirkland. If you see anything Kirkland, that's from Costco. Other ways to get it stick. Complementers. This is the classic iTunes example. The reason people bought iPods is because of the content that was on iTunes. And this was an issue when the iPad was launched. There was some uncertainty around the iBook store, as an example, whether there was enough variety on the iBook store to be able to use the iPad as an electronic reader. So you need the complementers to be able to develop a new business model. Or another way to do it is through broader stakeholders. So appealing to broader stakeholders, appealing to an environmental group, appealing to think tanks, appealing to the scientific community to find ways to make your business model stick. So there's lots of different ways of making this stick. Now so far we've talked about breaking out into blue oceans. We've talked about Apple's story of using that blue ocean on the edge of the red ocean to really get the returns to scale moving along. And it all sounds rather easy. It all sounds like, well, if it's so easy, why don't lots of companies do it? And some of these, this is another slide I've shown before, but I don't think I've talked through it before. Why not get involved in these blue oceans? When we started talking earlier today, one of the things we talked about is it possible in any industry to have a blue ocean? One of the reasons it's not, sometimes, is that people are just not willing to go there. Because they want to stay focused on the core business. Or because they want a return on their existing investment. They've already put money into the infrastructure, so core business. They still made computers, they still kept the innovation moving there, they're still very well designed, etc., etc. They're still working in the red ocean. They had strategic options. They could work inside the red ocean or in the blue ocean. Very risky to go straight for the blue ocean. You want existing payback on the existing investment, an idea from Economics 101. Be careful about thinking of sunk costs. You know what you're meant to do when you make an investment decision is make a decision from here forward without worrying about costs that you've already incurred in the past. So saying, oh, but we've already put so much effort into XYZ, we've already put so much investment, we've already put so much work into our existing infrastructure, then what we're meant to do is try and put that aside and think forward and think, oh, wait a minute, all of that is gone, all of that is sunk. We need to look forward here and look at the payoffs moving forward. Top management not in favour. This is where, you know, the 3M story of developing a culture of experimentation is very important. And having more important issues to deal with, just encouraging a future perspective. Some part of the business somewhere that's thinking forward into the future rather than thinking back into the past or worrying about present issues. I think I did talk through this slide with you before. Yeah? I think we did. It's just the point is why don't established companies go off into these blue oceans? All right. So today's headline was about breaking that value cost trade-off. Now we know what a trade-off is, we're good to go. So breaking the value cost trade-off and breaking it through providing good value and also lower cost. One way to do this is thinking about blue ocean move. And sort of the headline, if you like, for the last 3 sessions, the position session, the capability session and this, is innovation strategy formulation with vital context for successful innovation. So next time we're now moving on to thinking about some of this stuff in action. And what we're going to do is, the chapter, Schilling is chapter 4, there's a paper, Shapiro and Varian, about standards. And the conversation we're going to have is around the competition between Google's Android and Apple's iPhone. Now, you remember when we did Kodak? You got some articles and you brought the articles to the class and we used those in the class. That's what we're going to do for Android and iPhone because I can't find a nice case on that because it's too contemporary. So the task is for you to come to the class with a recent article, website, something that has some commentary on the advantages, disadvantages, position, whatever it is, of either the Android operating system or Apple's iPhone. We'll build on the Apple conversation today and talk about standards